These are dangerous times.
Godzilla's out there and he's hurting people, and we don't know why.
We need Kong. The world needs him. Stop what's coming.
Through the entrance in Antarctica, we could help him find a new home.
The myths are real. There was a war. And they're the last ones standing.
Who bows to who?
Kong bows to no one.
It's so massive.
Evacuation. Titan alert.
Get out of the building now. This is not a drill.
I think one of the most exciting things about doing a Godzilla movie is being able to take a different approach to Godzilla in the same way that the original films did. The legendary approach has always been sort of that Godzilla is a good guy. You know, he's misunderstood, but he's a good guy. And we're kind of flipping the world around and saying now a world where Godzilla has seemingly turned his back on humanity and is acting recklessly.
The massive Titan, once thought to be a hero to humanity, made landfall in Pensacola, Florida.
This film starts after 3 years since the last encounter with the Titans. And Godzilla is on the rampage again. Why, we don't know.
There's a reoccurring motif in this movie of Godzilla sort of being equatable to Jaws. So even at the beginning of the film, you know, we wanted to treat it more like Jaws approaching the shores. My absolute favorite thing that I was always looking forward to in the movies was Godzilla using his breath. I just thought that was the coolest thing every time you got to see it. And so I ended up pushing that a lot in this movie.
I believe Godzilla's most recent attacks haven't just been random.
I'm of the same opinion.
Brian Tyree Henry plays a really fun character in the film named Bernie Hayes, who's a bit of a conspiracy theorist.
For 5 years, I embedded myself inside this company trying to figure out what their game was. And then, boom! Godzilla shows up.
He's a champion for mankind, you know. There's something, his heart is so big.
Bernie is kind of this crazy... That's about it, he's just crazy.
All right, Matt Hatter. Down the rabbit hole.
The trio of Madison, Josh, and Bernie, they're all very distinct personalities, but there's a dynamic between them and a rapport that's been great to watch.
They're an amazing team. They work really well together. They complement each other so well. You know, you have the realist, which is Josh. I mean, he's very practical, logical. You need one of those in your group, otherwise you're gonna die.
Are you sure we can trust this guy?
Yeah, why? Well, mainly because he says crazy shit all the time and carries a bottle of whiskey from his dead wife like a gun.
And then you have the full go-getter. I am the go-getter. I will throw myself into, you know, if they're scared to go in first, I'll go in. I think it's romantic. And Bernie is the knowledge of the group. You know, he really holds a lot of information. He's a conspiracy theorist, so he is extremely intelligent.
It's not a rom-com. I never said that.
That's what she said.
All three of those actors are just hilarious, and they have such great chemistry together, and they're just unbelievably funny. Like when the camera's rolling, when it's not rolling, it's kind of never ending with those guys.
You going in?
Yeah.
I can't reach for greatness because I'm built from it.
This is like the heavyweight champion of the world fight.
It's basically two giant monsters fighting.
Kong has the strength, but you know, Godzilla can, like, you know, fire stuff out of him.
This is the most epic battle of all time.
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my new Godzilla vs. Kong trailer video. We finally have some brand new Mechagodzilla footage we'll break down, so if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There's a whole bunch of stuff coming up next week. The movie is going to be released pretty much everywhere by next Wednesday. But as you see, we finally get some big Mechagodzilla scenes in the new trailers. This is a scene of them activating Mechagodzilla in his underground base and him rising through that massive hatch. The way they present the scene in the trailer doesn't really give you an idea for the actual scale of it, but you have to imagine that Mechagodzilla is about the same size as real Godzilla, so it's massive. If you haven't seen any of the classic Toho monster films, this is meant to be a big callback reference to the classic Mechagodzilla movie. It's a similar setup to what their base was like. The scientists had built him in an underground mountain lair, and when they unleashed him, when they activated him, he rose up to this giant hatch in the ground to fight Godzilla. You also get a really good look at his new design, too, in the new Monsterverse movies. He's got these dorsal spikes that seem similar to Godzilla's. They also probably light up like Godzilla's when he's using his abilities, and the red light in his eye sockets lighting up when they activate him, like he's some kind of giant transformer. Then you see him plant one of his massive metal feet on the ground like he's taking a step. The director of the movie even came out and said, finally revealed, and actually posted this on his official Instagram account, like, yes, of course, Mechagodzilla is in the movie. I guess the secret is out, quote unquote, just everybody telling the big joke, because we've known about Mechagodzilla for weeks and weeks now. In the way they explain the timeline of the movie in these other clips, they say it's been 3 years since the event of Godzilla King of Monsters when Godzilla defeated King Ghidorah and took back the title, King of All Titans. There's way more footage of that fake Hollow Earth facility that they take Kong to, and them discussing the plan to take him there, why they're taking him there. Like they talk about taking him through the Arctic to try and help him out, take him to a new home for some reason. I'm assuming, based on the rest of the movie and the footage we've seen in the trailers, it's because of the threat that they think Godzilla poses when Team Kong, whether or not they're actually associated with Monarch or not, thinks that Godzilla has completely turned on man. And the director also kind of clarifies that during this clip too, where he says he wanted to flip the script and play at least part of the movie as if Godzilla was no longer a friend to man. Of course, it's a total fake out, I'll explain in a second, but it's just that every single Godzilla movie that he says so far in the Monsterverse films, the new Monsterverse films, Godzilla has always been portrayed as an ally, so they wanted to start off things in this new film in total Godzilla Jaws mode. And I'm assuming everyone has seen at least one of the Jaws films, or you're at least familiar with the concept. But I do love the deep cut reference, and it tracks because Godzilla is just at home in deep water as he is on land. He's not strictly a land-based titan like some of them, although most of them could probably swim a little to save their lives if they had to, like Kong is capable of swimming. It's just that some of them are way less suited to exist underwater, like Kong, of course, which I think is probably one of the reasons why they wanted that first Godzilla vs. Kong throwdown fight to happen on the ships in deep water, because it does seem like Godzilla scores the first major win there. Like I said, it all seems like a big misdirect, like you pit Ali versus Foreman in a battle of the Titans, when really there's all this Mechagodzilla stuff going on in the background. There is a brand new scene of this apex scientist watching Godzilla attacking the city in the distance because, as you see in the other footage when the director's hyping up his atomic breath ability, he keeps blasting straight into the ground as if he's trying to destroy something underneath the ground. And there's all that other footage at the beginning of that clip of the Apex base itself, like you see the Apex logo here, with all the warning alarms going off saying that there's a Titan attack coming. So clearly Godzilla is just looking for the secret underground volcano lair of Mechagodzilla, trying to destroy it. Although it's not clear how Godzilla finds out about Mechagodzilla. It probably has something to do with the Apex scientists testing out Mechagodzilla's systems, and that's what alerts Godzilla. But then they explain more of how Brian Tyree Henry's character is connected to Apex, confirming my theory from a while ago. He says his character Bernie Hayes started out as a conspiracy theorist who just infiltrated Apex to learn what they were doing and discovered the truth about them experimenting with Titan DNA and Mechagodzilla, and all these really shady plans that they have to get rid of the real Titans. He also clarified that he'd been inside the company for 5 years when the movie picks up, meaning that he was inside of Apex before the events of Godzilla King of Monsters. It sounds like Apex's plans have been in motion for many, many years prior to the events of even the first new Godzilla Monsterverse movie. Monarch had been investigating Titans long before the events of Kong Skull Island 2, and that movie took place in the 1970s, so I think they'll also get more into the ancient history of the Titans during the movie, and it sounds like they'll also explain how Apex got its start too. But if you haven't seen, they've actually been posting a lot of early reviews for the movie. Generally, it's what you want to hear, pretty favorable. Everyone does seem like they're hyping it up, but most of the criticisms are actually against the human storyline, saying it kind of bogs the film down a little, which is common, I think, for Godzilla, big Titan movies. Like, everyone wants to see less of the human storylines and more of Godzilla and the other Titans. But I think the idea with the last 2 Godzilla movies is that because it's gotten cheaper to do the visual effects for the Titans, they've been able to slowly pull back on the amount of human storyline and make more and more of the story just about the Titans. So hopefully that trend continues in potential future Godzilla movies or Monsterverse movies. But just big reminder that the movie is coming out on HBO Max next week and in theaters on the same day. But it is out early in a couple countries today, so be careful for spoilers on Twitter, Facebook, social media in general. But if you spotted any big Easter eggs during this new footage that I didn't talk about during the video, just write it below in the comments. And like I said, all my videos for the movie will start posting next week. I've got some new Justice League Snyder Cut videos that I'll post, and my full Marvel Falcon and Winter Soldier Episode 2 video will post Friday just like normal. While you wait for everything, click here for my full Justice League Snyder Cut ending and end credit scenes video, and click here for my brand new Falcon and Winter Soldier Episode 2 trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys tonight.